Hello, groovers and shakers, and welcome to my new podcast. It's the same as the old one. It's just moved to a different place, and it's got a bit of a different vibe. It's only sort of music and lyrics, and all the songs I write, but no books. The books and stuff, immersion is on a different podcast. If you're interested in everything that I do, then you're best to go to my websites, to be honest, because that's where you get the lowdown. So iServalan.com, nice and simple, and you get everything that I do on there. So I've really been producing a lot of material this last month. I've really thrown myself into it. But now that the year is over and all my websites are set up and everything is running smoothly, I can focus on the music again, which has been, apart from last week, actually, I tell you what, last week I produced 2 films with my music. So that was actually really exciting. I really enjoyed it. So what I've started doing is releasing my old tracks to art. So I sort of live perform the artwork as the track's playing. I have to keep playing the track because it takes much longer to produce the artwork than it does to, the track's 3 minutes. An artwork can take like an hour, sometimes 2 hours. So I cheat a bit in that I play it over and over again, but I really get the vibe. It's just so interesting what music does to my body and my hands when I'm, being all arty-farty. It's fantastic what occurs. It's really nice. It's quite surprising, I guess, and a bit energizing. And because I'm scribbling, I'm a bit obsessed with this sort of scribbling and line over line. And it's almost a compulsive reaction, I would say. But I'm really into it for the time being. I don't know if that'll change. The thing with drawing with lines using digital pens, it's very smooth and there's no friction. So when you draw on paper, there's loads of friction. And you get used to drawing with the friction and you find that you work with it. It's a bit like standing up, you work with gravity. You work out what it does and then you work it out when you're a baby toddling, and then it's done for life because you've figured it out. And that's a bit like drawing on different materials. But most materials that people draw on are quite rough. Some are smooth, but even the smooth ones are a bit rough. They've all got a surface. And a digital tablet, it doesn't have that. There's no friction at all. It doesn't have. You glide. It's a very smooth surface. So you can kind of do these things where you use your left hand, or you swing the pen, kind of swing it around, suspend it and see where it's going to go and what it's going to do. And I really like that. I think it's quite interesting what's happening to my mind as I listen to this music and then let the energy kind of go down through my torso and through, then through my limbs. I think it's kind of sort of start. I suppose it starts in your ears, I guess, theoretically, but actually rhythms and stuff you feel in your heartbeat. And, even if it's only on a tablet, I tell you what, though, it's way better to listen to my music on headphones. It's completely different, actually. The experience is completely different. What you miss out on as well when you download it or listen to an MP3, on all these streaming sites, is a condensed version of my tracks. And as a musician who's been, who's experienced in the classical world of music and the orchestra, and I'm used to sound coming at me from all angles. Listening to this little tiny speaker and then the stuff that they churn out, it's a bit grim, actually. It's got very little soul. So, I put headphones on sometimes and I think, God, that's bloody marvellous, that is. And it's because I've forgotten how good it was. Because, when you make something, you don't put it out until you've got it right. You wait for perfection to arrive. 3 days later or whenever, sometimes you're lucky and it's in a day. Very rarely. I'd say it always takes me 2 days, really. And sometimes I need to wait till the next day to be absolutely sure, because you need to sleep on it a bit. Do you know what I mean? Anyway, I have had a wonderful term because I've joined the orchestra, and I don't think I've been podcasting properly since I joined the orchestra. So the orchestra, I joined Portsmouth University Orchestra, and I absolutely love it, and I've improved my bass so much. So if you don't know, I was a cellist once, and I had to stop saying I was a cellist because all I'd done for the last sort of 12 weeks or more is actually quite a bit more, I think, sort of 3-4 months, is double bass. So now I've been going around saying, I play double bass. I'm a bassist. Yeah, bass player, which is, I think, a bit more street cred, actually. However, I knew that I had to get back to my cello because, of course, I teach cello, and all the classes that I do that are now going on my site. I'll tell you about that in a minute, guys. So I knew I needed to get back to it. And the problem with the bass is it's strung in fourths. So each string is a fourth apart. That's 4 notes on the piano, if you like. You read the same music, but the fingering is really different. So I put off doing any cello until the end of orchestra this term. We had our concert a couple of weeks ago. And I've been sort of I've been doing other things, and I knew I had to do it. I had to go back to cello. I had to, but I look at my cello and I think, oh, it looks so small. It looks like a toy. Don't get me started on the bloody viola. I'll be going back to that tomorrow as well. And I was just putting it off somehow. There was some sort of block in my head for some reason. It's funny how we do that. I suppose, guys, I was a bit scared. I was actually a bit scared of it. I thought, I'm not going to be able to do it now because now I'm a bass player, and now I understand the way the hand moves when the strings go up in fourths. I don't understand when they go up in fifths anymore like they do on the cello or the viola. I won't be able to do it. It will defeat me. And being defeated as a musician is a absolutely petrifying thing. Musicians are very good at forcing themselves to try stuff and failing miserably, but keeping going. That's what we do. It's one thing that unites all musicians, and not the fly-by-nights, not the ones who pick up a guitar for a week and then realise that there's far too much hard work involved and commitment. You do have to commit, but committed musicians do understand that pushing yourself forward is the only way. You actually have to do that. You have to play things that you can't play. You have to try, and then you can play it. That's the wonderful procedure. You look at it, you're baffled, you start it, you play it, you practice it, you perfect it as best you can in your way, you make it yours, and then you move on to the next really bloody hard piece of music. Sometimes, if you're like me, you'll look at a piece of music that you've never played before every day. That's what you should do, sight reading, and you give it a bash. And that gives you really good confidence for sight reading. So now I think I can sight read the orchestra much better for my double bass than I did last term, for example. So I went in today and I thought, right, let's pick it up. And the weird thing is I'm sort of embarrassed because I don't want the neighbours to hear how bad I am. So anyway, I tried to play something in like grade 8. And I thought, oh my God, I've completely forgotten how to play the cello. So then I thought, right, go back to basics. So I went back to Suzuki Book 1, which I'm doing in the new school, by the way, the Conservatoire. I've got a nice new online school that I'm doing. I'll be doing all of the Suzuki books again. A bit fresher, a bit new. I've got some new tactics for getting you all really, really good. Played, Twinkle Twinkle Little Star, and I thought, God, my neighbours will think I'm a dork. And I played it quite badly. And the reason I was playing it badly was because the bow was like flying everywhere because it's so light. It's like air, And obviously with the double bass, the bow is a heavier piece of equipment. But to get a note out of the double bass, you have to show it who's boss, you see. A cello, I would say, you really have more of a sort of mutual, sensual love affair with, a sensual experience. But the double bass, you absolutely have to dominate it. Otherwise, it will floor you. So it's a different love affair, a different sexual experience that you have with your double bass, in my opinion, than I have with the cello. Anyway, miraculously, by the end of the book, which takes about an hour, I suppose, to play, 40 minutes, I thought, oh no, I'm not too bad. Now, I kept getting the open strings wrong. Of course I did, because the open strings are completely different on the double bass than they are on the cello. So I was looking and I was thinking, gee, where's that A? Where is that A? Because, of course, the A is the second string in from your ear on the double bass, and it's an open A. And you've got to put a finger down to get that note on the cello. The D's the same. So the D's your pivot. So just remember that, guys. Just remember the D is the same. Pivot around the D, yeah? It's a fifth above the D. Where's that going to be? It's going to be on the next string. If it's a sixth, you're going to have to start putting fingers down. Do you see what I mean? You work it out. You work it all out around the D. And the other really cool thing about the D is that there's a lot of music written for it, because it was it's a very popular string key signature, because it vibrates and resonates so beautifully with the other strings of a cello. So you'll find there's lots of lovely music for it, and you'll find that Suzuki works around this D an awful lot as well. The importance of the D. They believed in the olden days, guys, that it was almost godly, a heavenly note. And it is. It vibrates and makes you feel beautiful. Very sexy note on the cello. Not bad on the double bass either. Well, I like the A on the double bass. I think, so it's important to have your favourites. So it's really important, I think. Anyway, we'll be talking about that in the lessons. I'm really hoping that these new lessons will be a little bit more invigorating. I'm going to keep them really short. I think people want short stuff nowadays. I'm going to be doing loads of play-alongs with just a couple of lines, talk about them, talk about the phrasing, understand what's really good. Why do I like this? Let's talk about that, that sort of thing. And I just feel that this is, you have to blend with modernity. There's no point in, sitting like a fusty old piano teacher, with baggy tights, smelling of Parma violets, and insisting on an hour-long lesson and making you do scales. That's not going to work, is it? That's not going to work for today's generation. We need to give this some oomphy, a bit more. We need to sex up the lessons a bit, but not in a weird way. I mean, music needs to be a sensual experience, doesn't it? You need to feel somehow that you're at one with it. And people get that at different ages, I think. They discover the otherness of music sometimes when they're very young, a child. I think I had it a bit, when I was about 7, but other things put me off, like performing in public. I really didn't want to do that. So that hindered my progress. But after my menopause, I became really obsessed with this idea that music was giving me an avenue for transcending into something better and something much more enjoyable. So there we go. We're going to have exciting, passionate lessons. Yes, very nice. Pop along to iServalan.com and you can find out where to get the lessons.